Good morning. Today we are going to be sowing our Cerinthe. Cerinthe is a lovely plant and it flowers for me first in my garden from an autumn jumpstart. It looks lovely with the anemones. It's got that beautiful bluey, greeny foliage. You can't really put your finger on the colour. Anyway, the plants are quite big, so rather than sowing it in our usual 40 cell tray, we're going to go straight to the 15 cell tray. You can use 9cm pots if you want to, but I like to keep all my plants together, so a 15 cell tray is easier for me. So here are our Cerinthe seeds. You can see they're very large indeed. So we're going to be sowing them straight into a 15 cell tray, so they've got enough room to grow throughout the winter. You can soak your seeds just for a few hours, not for too long, before sowing to soften the seed coat and try and get the water to get through that thick outer coating. But it's not essential. It doesn't make a huge difference. So if you think that you'll forget about them, the best thing to do is just sow them and then just give the tray a good water. So I am just going to dip a hole and then drop in the seeds. And then I'm going to cover them back over again because darkness does help with germination. Makes a change for them to be nice and big and easy to handle, doesn't it? Really grows quite satisfyingly quickly. We often find that we have twin seedlings coming up, so you might need to separate those. And then either way, you'll probably need to plant the pots on once around Christmas or New Year time before they finally go out in their final flowering positions in late winter or very early spring. So fast forward 2 weeks and you can see, look, germination is occurring. Some seedlings are coming up faster than others, and as I suspected, we do have some twins. So that's exciting. That means that we've got 2 plants for the price of 1. I will wait until they're less fragile before I move them on into their own pots. We can do that together. And I'm also noticing that the cells that were closest to the glass in the greenhouse, they are drying out faster than the cells in the middle. So rather than soaking from underneath the whole tray, I'm just going to spot water with this small watering can the cells that need it and leave the cells that are still moist alone. So I'm going to use a widger. Now, if you don't want to have one of these, then you can always use this like an old fish knife. I got this off of eBay for 50p, which is probably cheaper than the widger, if I'm honest. Works just as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to carefully lever out my Cerinthe baby so they come out as one whole clump. If they start to fall apart, it might not be ready to be transplanted just yet. So I'm just going to put my hands between the 2 plants really carefully and just tease them apart. What I want to do is to keep most of the compost around the root systems so they get disturbed as little as possible. Can you see that? That plant is probably not even going to notice it's been divided from its twin. So what we're going to do is take each seedling and carefully position it in its own cell and then feed compost in all around, and that will give it fresh nutrients and its own space to grow and thrive. Now, if you've got a seedling that's actually got quite leggy, what you can do at this point is just put it in a 9cm pot, which is much deeper. Put the seedling right at the bottom and then just backfill it, and then you will never know that your seedling was ever leggy. Just make sure now it's got enough light. There you go. I just thought I'd do another one for you. So gently teasing apart, keeping as much of the roots as you possibly can, and then straight in to the 15 cell. Now, if you're wondering why it's so important to give them their own space, just look at this for an example. So this is one plant in one cell, and then this one here, look, we've got 4 plants. And can you see the vast difference in size between them? Because these are competing with each other for water and nutrients, and nobody's coming out particularly well. So we'll divide them, and then they'll absolutely soon catch up. You'll see. Now, what I recommend you do is you have a little bowl of water close by, so that when you're dividing your seedlings, if one of them comes out a little bit worse for wear, i.e. not all the compost is around the roots, if you plonk it in the water to rehydrate, there we go, this one here, plonk it in the water to rehydrate for about 20 minutes, it means that when you transplant it, it's got a much better survival rate. There we go, so I'm just going to put them in a tray of water to gently hydrate for about 20 minutes, and then they should be absolutely fine. If you can, plant your Cerinthe in a more sheltered location in your garden. If you've ever seen it growing in someone else's garden, it's usually a courtyard garden or close to the house where it's slightly more protected and it's warmer. If you have to plant it out in an exposed location, or if your garden's exposed, perhaps you're going to plant it at your allotment or in your flower field like I am, then I'm going to use Neil's frames, and I'm going to position the lids in place just after planting out time until the plants acclimatise, and I'll put them back in place any time that we have any extreme weather. Hopefully we'll have a spring like 2021 and it will be beautifully mild. We won't have any frost at all. You can also just use a couple of layers of horticultural fleece if you don't have any low tunnels at your disposal. Look at those roots. So I've dug a hole much larger than the root ball, and I'm going to nestle it in, and we're planting these about 22 centimetres apart. They are all planted, just need to water them in. Now, ideally, Cerinthe do like to have a sheltered spot, and it's quite exposed in the flower field down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to put a lid over the top of the Cerinthe under Neil's frames. Go, happy as Larry. If you don't have one of Neil's frames, then just have a bit of fleece ready if we get a really, really cold snap. But they should be fine now. Hello. These are my Cerinthe. They're a H4, so with this nasty weather, I have had them covered up with Neil's lids. I'm going to ask him to take the lid off today, and then we can reuse this. I'll probably put these lids over the Nigella tonight because it's quite exposed in this field. Yep, again, autumn jump starter, Cerinthe, of course.